Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Cedar Botanical Garden in Curtisville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up. They'll get into all sorts of controversies, so stay tuned for that. And for the entire program, we have a lot of great guests and important information, including an update on COVID. But where we want to start is Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and three gentlemen who are intimately involved in this program and supportive of, and here they are. On my right, our good friend Shawan Gabriel, who's President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and David Daggett and Griff Schuler from Daggett Schuler Attorneys at Law, who are very involved in supporting Big Brothers Big Sisters. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Welcome, Shawan.
Shawan, I'm going to start with you. Remind our viewers very quickly what the mission of Big Brothers Big Sisters is.
Big Brothers Big Sisters' mission is to ignite the potential in all children. It's that simple. We know that all children have the potential to be great, and we want, along with volunteers and donors, to ignite that potential in our youth.
Now, I understand, I think you sent me an email one day that talked about a new mentoring center. Is that right? Now, tell me about that.
That is correct. We raised, we had a capital campaign a couple years ago, and we now, unfortunately with the pandemic, haven't been able to fully utilize that mentoring center, but we have a 2,000 square foot mentoring center equipped with gaming consoles, with areas for safe and engaging activities, training tools for our parents, our volunteers, and in the community at large. So we're excited about it.
That's just great. And that should be really, as COVID sort of subsides and you're going to get more and more activity there, that's great. David, let me turn to you, because I understand, if memory serves me, when we talked about this a long time ago, you hold some kind of a record in Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Well, I was told the longest running continuous relationship, I still have it going. When I was in law school, a friend of mine and I started a program that matched law students with little brothers and little sisters through the organization. Chuck was 10 years old at the time, and he's turning 50, I believe.
Good Lord. And so, seriously, you still stay in touch, and you're still a big brother to him?
Oh, yeah, we texted over the weekend. And
I've met Chuck several times with David. He's fantastic.
I just think that's great.
It is awesome.
Yeah, my longest running relationship was, I think, a year. But that's a whole other segment.
It's interesting that when Chuck and I are together, we'll repeat each other's sentences, but the one we repeat is it changes both lives forever. It ignites both sides.
Griff, what's your take on why mentors? Because we mentioned mentors, and of course David and Shawan both. Why is it so important for young people to have mentors, and why is it important for the community at large?
Well, number one, it's very important for the mentor themselves, because they're giving back and giving back to the younger generation. And that's a huge thing that David and I believe in. And obviously we're around young people all the time with a lot of our programs. I think for the young people to learn from somebody that's older and maybe learn some of the ropes ahead of time and kind of see maybe where they need to set up and start making their paths forward and making right decisions, making good choices. I think that's where mentoring can be very helpful.
Shawan, you mentioned in another email that you sent me too, that you're focused on social and emotional development of kids. Very quickly, what do you mean by that?
Well, it goes back to what David said. In terms of how we ignite that potential, we know that there are 21 developmental assets that kids all need, right? That's the social emotional piece that we don't always think about, right? And kids are act out. We don't ever explore the reasons why. What's behind that? And that's where the social emotional learning comes into play. And we train our volunteers and equip our parents with tools to help identify those issues.
And before we run out of time, everybody's mentioning volunteers. I assume you still need adult volunteers, men and women.
All the time. As we continue to serve more children, there are more children who need our services. And again, thanks to donors and volunteers who continue to come out and support.
All right, so if you want to volunteer, find out how you do that. If you want to make donations, here's some information on screen. BBBSNC stands for, of course, Big Brothers Big Sisters, North Carolina. That's bbbsnc.org. And a salute to the good guys here at Daggett Schuler, who are so supportive of this and many other programs. You can check their website out at daggettschulerlaw.com or call them if you ever need help, 724-1234. And I just appreciate all you guys do.
Quick shout out to Chuck. Chuck, love you, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Still a big brother. How many years?
We're going on 40.
40 years. That's amazing. Congratulations. All right, we'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, some great news, great things going on in economic development, and we have a couple of gentlemen who know all about that and collaterally are involved as well, closely. On my right, our good friend Jimmy Flythe, who's a Director of Government and Community Relations for Duke Energy. You've seen him on this program many times before. Jimmy brought along a special guest today. Andrew Tate is Director of Economic Development for Duke Energy. Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Jimmy, I'm going to start with you. We've had, as I said, a lot of great economic development news lately. If we hone in just on the Toyota battery plant, people say a battery plant. What do you mean? Why are you and Duke Energy so excited about that? I mean, what kind of batteries are we talking about, and how does this involve Duke Energy?
Yeah, well, I wanted to bring Andrew in to talk a little bit more about this in detail. Andrew covers economic development for the state of North Carolina. He's our director. And, people don't always think about the role that energy plays, Duke Energy would play in recruiting big businesses. They're going to use a lot of electricity. They want to make sure it's reliable and affordable and now increasingly clean. And so I thought it'd be great to hear from Andrew to talk a little bit about the couple of recent economic development.
Absolutely, and I know you've been on the show before touting the future of and the present of electric vehicles and other things, and of course this is going to help. I mean, this is going to be the mega center sort of for encouraging that, which you guys are closely involved in. Andrew, let's spin off of what Jimmy was saying. How exactly are you guys involved? Let's pick the Toyota battery plant, for example, in trying to get it created, work on the plant, work with them.
Sure. Duke Energy was involved really soon after the site identification, the Greensboro-Randolph megasite, more than 10 years ago, and has been partners with regional leaders around that effort. Two specific challenges that we faced with that site were, one, a 525 kV transmission line bisects the site. We worked with partners to develop a plan to relocate that line. And the transmission service delivery that'll support Toyota is 6.5 miles away. And so we also worked with the Greensboro-Randolph Megasite Foundation to proactively acquire right-of-way so that we could present a timeline that was compatible with Toyota's plans for service delivery and operation.
And again, spinning off of what we were talking about a minute ago with the EV market coming on and renewable energy in general, this sort of dovetails into exactly what you guys are about, right?
It does. Interestingly enough, Toyota and Duke Energy both have a goal to be carbon neutral by 2050. There's an enormous amount of alignment around a goal like that. House Bill 951 that was passed earlier last year in North Carolina sets a course for Duke Energy to have an aggressive clean energy strategy. And so we've got customers that are increasingly asking for clean energy solutions in addition to affordable and reliable power. We have a responsibility around that.
Of course, we didn't rehearse this or anything, but Jimmy, just devil's advocate for consumers, I guess this is good. They're going to create jobs. Okay, I know you guys are excited about this, but now are y'all going to be able to handle all this supersonic plane things and Toyota and all this new development coming on and not forget about me and my energy needs as a consumer?
Yeah, it all comes together on the same grid. So we're continuing to invest in making the grid smarter and cleaner, lots of new capacity. A big project like this takes a lot of engineering and planning. It takes years sometimes to get the right infrastructure in place. But, we work closely, Andrew's team works closely with economic developers across the state, as they're recruiting, bringing in new businesses to make sure we've got capacity. And lots of times they're even working to say, hey, we've got capacity at this location. And to help with the recruiting efforts.
Right. I want to put up on the screen a couple of things here. Duke-energy.com is the general website, and then Jimmy's favorite website that we put up. I talk about this all the time. This is generatingprogress.com, and 10 seconds. Why is that a good website?
It's just a great place to learn about a lot of things other than just products and services. Just a lot of really neat stories about how we're transforming the grid to be cleaner and better and more efficient and smarter.
And Andrew, you're based in Raleigh, so I know you're on the road a lot, but I hope you'll come and visit us again and keep us updated on these economic development projects, because I know there's a lot in the works, and I want to pick your brain on those too sometime.
Absolutely. There's a bright future in the Triad for economic development.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, time to check in with Dr. David Priest for a COVID update from Novant Health.
We're starting to see the first signs of improvement with the Omicron wave as our testing sites are beginning to slow down due to less demand for testing. If you remember a few weeks ago, the demand for testing was really high. We actually had to add special hours and days of our testing sites to accommodate that. And at times we were seeing up to 800 individuals a day for testing at a single location. Today, our testing volumes have dropped by approximately 2/3 over what they were 2 weeks ago. Fortunately, less testing demand means we're able to scale back some of the hours at those sites, which brings some needed relief to team members who are operating them. Things are very fluid, so if we would encourage anybody who's looking for testing to go online first and make sure a testing site is open and you have the most up-to-date information to know where to get tested, and so you can see where those locations are and hours are online. The second indicator that our positive case rates are also down is our rolling 7-day percentage of tests that are positive. That's continuing to decline across all of our markets. In recent weeks, we had percentage positive on a 7-day rolling basis as high as 48 to 50%. And that's now down into the high 30s again, still incredibly high, but moving in the right direction. So we have some reason for optimism there. In addition, I'll mention that over 90% of the patients we have in the hospital are unvaccinated or under-vaccinated. And we define under-vaccinated as being maybe had one dose of vaccine, or they were eligible for a booster. They were in that booster window and they have not received it. So as the percentage of tests that are positive go down, we anticipate continued decline in hospital census as well. As you remember, through the 2 years of the pandemic, it's the hospital census that lags behind the positivity rate and the testing. So we're looking forward to decreased hospital census. That coupled with hopefully the increased availability of outpatient therapies for COVID, including Paxlovid and Molnupiravir, hopefully all that's going to mean an improving COVID outlook over the next few weeks to months, which obviously our teams would really welcome. We know that the pandemic from the very beginning, not just with Omicron, with Alpha and Delta and other variants, has disproportionately affected communities of color. And Omicron has been no different. And part of the issue with Omicron is just how infectious it is. While it may cause less severe clinical disease in many cases, incredibly infectious. So the same health inequities that we see for a variety of things, medical care in general and healthcare in general are no different as it relates to COVID. So we've continued to see those things at Novant Health. We've worked to alleviate that by trying to put clinics and vaccine locations into those communities, partnering with local religious groups and other groups in different communities to get vaccine clinics into those communities, to get the message out through local leaders on the safety of the vaccine and the necessity of getting medical care if you need it related to COVID. So it's been unfortunate that those communities are disproportionately affected. I think if we pull something good out of all of this, I think it has shown a light on healthcare disparities in general. And I think it's opened people's eyes in this 2 years of pandemic, how those are issues that we need to, as a society, tackle more effectively than we have been tackling them. And that comes to the uninsured and the underinsured and communities of color and immigrant populations and all sorts of groups that have healthcare disparities and inequities. And our commitment is we don't create a single data tool at Novant Health that doesn't have a diversity inclusion lens on it. So everything we look at from our standpoint in our healthcare system around safety and quality, every single time, all of those tools have a way to look at it by race and ethnicity and gender and other factors. So that's not something that healthcare has traditionally done, but our organization is absolutely committed to that. It helps us always have that on the front burner and not something that's kind of an afterthought later.
For more information, visit www.novanthealth.org. We'll be right back. On Triad Today, and always glad when we can get these two ladies here. One of them hasn't been here in about 400 years, and she's finally back. Now, our regular guest here, who we love, of course, Karen Barnes, the CEO of Agile City, Winston-Salem, but making her first appearance, seriously, it's over like 10 years ago or something. Nancy Johnson, Executive Director, Piedmont Triad Office of the North Carolina Biotech Center. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Ms. Karen, let me start with you. Just give everybody a reminder in case they just moved in the area or missed one of our other shows. Remind us quickly what Agile City is all about.
So we are a nonprofit working on entrepreneurship and innovation, and we regularly partner with Nancy and the North Carolina Biotechnology Center on how do we spark more growth here in the Triad by supporting big ideas, small companies, and big efforts to put the Triad on the map.
All right, Nancy, let's go to you since Karen sort of set it up then. How would you give us the description of the mission of the Biotech Center, just so people know what we're talking about?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked, and I just want to pause and thank Karen for being a great partner in creating this opportunity to share. So the North Carolina Biotechnology Center's mission is really to accelerate tech-based economic development, and we do that through what you're going to hear about a little bit more, innovation. We also do that through understanding how to leverage, partnerships to support commercialization.
Right.
And also through education and business growth. So what we're going to talk about today falls right in line with our mission.
Which is good for overall economic development and job creation and everything else.
Correct.
All right, now since you teased it, we'll talk about what you emailed me, which is, and I'm going to say this, see if I say it correctly, Bioneer program. What's that all about?
Sure, it's called NC Bioneer. You can learn more on the ncbioneer.com website, or you can actually go to ncbiotech.org and learn a little bit more about our organization as well. But I will tell you, this is a wonderful opportunity. It's a statewide competition. It's a venture challenge. It launched February 1st across North Carolina, and the goal and intention is to really increase the visibility of potential startups and also increase the volume. Hopefully we'll learn some things that we don't know, and then also increase the opportunity for commercialization.
Now, you also mentioned to me something off camera about the life sciences community, quote unquote.
Sure.
How is that applicable here?
Sure. I think most folks sometimes think that life sciences exists only in the RTP market. It's definitely an icon for the state. But the Piedmont Triad region contributes to North Carolina's leadership. And so we have over 80 life sciences companies here in the Triad. They employ close to 10,000 people, so I think we're a little over 9,000.
Right.
And we also have over 200 support services type companies. And the beauty of the Triad is its diversity, where we have early stage startups and we have larger existing industries such as maybe a LabCorp or Syngenta or Cook Medical.
Right. Now, is there a deadline, going back to this competition,
Sure.
Is there a deadline for applying for it?
There absolutely is a deadline, and
What
I'm
is
glad
that?
you asked. February 25th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. And very quickly, who should try to apply for this? I mean, give me a
Sure.
quick example.
Sure. So company ventures, very broad net of definition, an ag tech company up to a med tech, to an IT company, to even an equipment company. So someone that resides in the Piedmont Triad that wants to show their innovation.
Good for the ecosystem,
It is.
right?
Always want to build it.
Yep, up on screen, ncbiotech.org. Nancy mentioned that. Also, agilcity.ws. You can check that out, see about their activities. And thanks and a shout out to David Mounts and his good folks at Inmar Intelligence who helped make this segment possible. Their website is inmar.com. We appreciate their support and work in this, and I appreciate what the two of you do in partnering up. Thanks a lot, and good to see you again.
It's good to see you as well. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but another quick shout out to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. Please visit their website and visit the garden. It's a great place to do all your events. Hope you'll do that. Hope you'll also stay with us for the roundtable, and here we go with it. On my right, but always a political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist, and socially distanced behind us and held over from a previous segment where we were talking about big brothers, big sisters, the great David Daggett, a record-breaking big brother, and we congratulate you on that again, and Keith Grimberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, North Carolina House Speaker Tim Moore is proposing legislation that would make masks optional in K through 12 schools, even though most children have not been vaccinated. Now, we heard recently that Wilkes County and a few others were already trying this, but this would be a state law. Guys, COVID is still spreading, so should parents have the option not to have their children wear a mask during this period where they're still not vaccinated, Ogie?
Another swing and a miss for good old Tim Moore. It's not time quite, Jim, it's just not time yet. When kids under 5 can't get vaxxed yet, and most of the kids in elementary school aren't vaxxed yet.
Haven't, yeah.
Yeah, they can't.
It's a really low percentage of that. David, what do you think?
Unfortunately, we're raising these issues in these bills to gain political points, not being logical, reasonable, and rational. I think both sides are doing that. Let's listen to the science, the reasonable science, not the science at the far end. Follow that It's probably not quite time yet. It's probably coming. We don't need a state law.
Keith?
It's not time yet. None of the kids, most of the kids aren't vaccinated. None of the kids under 5 are vaccinated. COVID is still here. It's still spreading. Why are we having this issue? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just common sense to do it. Last week, we all agreed that the Winston Weaver fertilizer plant, which had no sprinklers or fire alarms, should compensate area residents who were displaced by the fire at the plant. But now, some members of City Council, including our friend Dee Dee Adams, who I usually agree with, they want to use $1 million in taxpayer money to compensate residents for lost wages. A little bit different issue. Ogie, what do you think?
I saw part of that debate, and one guy raised the issue about there ought to be some kind of codified policy before you start giving away money. And I can kind of see that, but it needs to be made quickly. I mean, these people need money now.
Should it come from the taxpayers or from the plant?
I would generally say no, but there's some people that got displaced, lost wages, that they need those wages this week. I think what should happen is the government should step in, but only under the condition that they're going to seek reimbursement through legal avenues for everything they've paid out to whoever's responsible.
Keith, what do you think?
I think Dee Dee has a good point. I think they should compensate them, but I think that the people should have a class action lawsuit against the company for not having sprinklers and all of the safety measures in that building. That is unlawful.
All right. A new Florida law would ban teachers from discussing sexual orientation or gender identity in elementary schools. They say such information is not, quote, age appropriate, unquote. Guys, do you agree with that assessment? And if so, would you like to have that adopted in North Carolina schools? Ogie?
No, there is credible evidence that says that kids are aware of their gender identity.
Yeah. Or genital identity.
I mean, if a kid feels like he's been born into the wrong body, they become aware of that stuff at 5 or 6. So maybe there's a gentle way to do it without, laying it to the world. Take a kid, let a kid confide in the teacher that.
But in sense of having curriculum, wouldn't that be over their head in general?
Well, again, we're making this political when it shouldn't be. There should be age-appropriate ways, as Ogie says, to do it in a very gentle, diplomatic manner that can provide some awareness that's needed to function in society as you grow up.
Keith, parents down there are saying, no, we don't want elementary kids exposed to this yet.
I think that the parents have a point, but I think there should be some conversation between the parents and the teachers, and they should be able to do it in a respectful manner.
All right, closer to home, High Point City Council recently agreed to establish a commission to look into the possibility of reparations for slavery. Do you guys think anything will come of this? And number two, how could reparations be paid if they were voted in? Ogie?
I just don't see it happening, Jim. We've been talking about it for how long now, 20 years or more? I just don't see it happening.
David Daggett?
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. However, it has prompted some good, necessary conversations and dialogues among society that I think we've long needed.
Mr. Granberry?
I don't think it's going to happen, but, I'm kind of tired of conversations. I want some action. There's so many issues that black people have had to deal with in this country. And the fact that the country was built on the back of slaves, there should be something that should be looked into.
Yeah, maybe maybe we could start making reparations in the form of social programs, and not just for black kids, but everybody. Big Brothers Big Sisters comes to mind. Donations to that.
Absolutely.
All right, this spring, very quickly, lawmakers may once again vote on whether medical marijuana should be legal in North Carolina, like it is in 36 other states. Up or down quickly, Ogie?
I really hope this is the year. I think it might be. There's enough Republicans on board.
I sound like a broken record. Follow the science. If the medical science says this is necessary to treat people, yes.
Yes or no, is it going to happen?
No.
All right, and finally, the Idaho Potato Commission is launching a perfume that smells like French fries. The perfume will cost about the same as a large order of fries. Guys, would you buy French fry perfume for your significant other? Ogie?
In the words of Keith Granberry, no.
David Daggett.
I'd buy it for Ogie and Keith, but no.
Keith, would
Hey,
you?
it's crazy you asked this question because I've been fiending for McDonald's French fries, so I would buy it from her, but she'd probably throw a hot dog at me, which she did over Valentine's Day.
You want to eat the fries, but you don't want to smell like
I
them.
don't want to smell like
All right.
fries.
I'm not sure why I even asked that question. All right, well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. A New Jersey man says he just received a letter in the mail that was mailed to him in 1946. Now, if you're doing the math on this, that means the letter was delivered 75 years late, or as Postmaster Louis DeJoy would call it, on time. You like that? For all of us here on Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.